Welcome back to another episode of From the Stands. We're going to hop right into mega moments of the week this week. I don't think there was so many to choose from this week.
It was a very fun week in football.
So I'm excited to see what everybody's mega moment is. All right, my mega moment, and there's a little bit of bias here. My mega moment is the Dawgs. The Georgia Bulldogs at home, prime time, top 10 matchup against number 9 Ole Miss, and we beat the dog shit out of them in all facets of the game, special teams, defense, and offense. I mean, we balled out. I was in attendance for the game. The stadium was loud as shit. I don't ever want to hear anybody say that Sanford is not loud again. It's absolute BS. We gave it to them. We held one of the SEC's most explosive offenses to 17 points. The offense put up 52 on over 600 yards of total offense. Very balanced game. A little over 300 yards of passing, right at 300 yards of rushing. The running game finally got back on point. Kendall Milton, 127 yards and 2 TDs, and Carson Beck was efficient and still trying to make his case for the Heisman this year. Give me the Dawgs as my mega moment of the week.
My mega moment of the week, and there doesn't need to be any bias here because it's the best player in college football. My mega moment is Jaden Daniels. I mean, 372 yards passing and 3 TDs, 234 yards rushing and 2 TDs, 606 total yards of offense from one player, and we scored 52 and beat Florida. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a stat line like that in college football before. He deserves the Heisman, and he deserves the Heisman, and I hope he gets it in New York. That's my mega moment of the week.
That's a good one.
We know where Jack's going.
Where am I going? I'm not going that way. Shout out Josh Dobbs, but I'm not going
You're
there.
not going Dobbs, okay?
No. I'll
know,
give Dobbs his flowers when we talk about it more, but he had a great game, but it wasn't a mega moment.
So I know who you're going to then.
C.J. Stroud.
Yep, knew it was coming.
Has been on a tear the last couple weeks.
Kick and play.
He is proving all the doubters who said he had zero IQ wrong coming into the season. I was personally not a huge fan of him coming out of college, and he's shutting my mouth real quick. And he led a game-winning drive against the Lance's Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. Once again, had an incredible stat line, 356 yards and a touchdown. Didn't have as many touchdowns as he did last week, but it's 356 yards on the road against a very solid, capable team in the Bengals. And they kind of had control of this game outside of a 10-minute window, the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. It felt like they had this game under control the whole time, which is really impressive for a rookie quarterback. So I'm going to continue to roll with C.J. Stroud as my mega moment of the week. And Texans are a dangerous team. They're currently in the playoff picture. Let's see how they can finish.
Hey, Lance, how you feeling about Tyler Boyd over there?
That was real bad.
Wide open.
He's our wide receiver 3 for a reason.
He had 117 yards.
Couldn't make the game-winning touchdown.
Only because we didn't have T. Higgins.
But my mega moment of the week, going to my favorite nickname in the NFL right now, Mr. Big Cock Brock.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you were going after the Pastronaut for a second.
No. Everybody was going in the bye week. They lost 3 straight. Everyone was talking about maybe they should start Sam Darnold. I mean, Brock Purdy, the magic's run out. They even called Sam Darnold the next Steve Young. The people covering San Fran.
Of course they did.
And then he came out there. He threw for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, went 19-26, and beat what everyone thinks is a pretty good Jaguars team. So I think he shut everybody's mouth. He's going to lead the Niners to a Super Bowl victory this year.
Okay,
Really,
I like
really
that.
quick before we jump off mega moments, I kind of forgot about this, but I would like to give the Dallas Cowboys offense a shout out.
No.
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention: Dak Prescott with 404 and 4 touchdowns. And
Dog, they played the Giants. With
I don't
Tommy,
care.
they played the
404
Tommy DeVito led Giants.
404 and 5 total touchdowns.
I don't give a shit. That's their. You want to know their 2 best games on offense this year? They've come against the fucking Giants. I ain't giving no flowers to Dak until he can beat somebody not
The Falcons would
named.
put up 26 against the Giants max.
They'd still win, though.
I'm not talking about the Falcons.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if the Falcons won, it'd still be a win. And this is 49
Yeah, okay, but the Falcons are not considered a Super Bowl contender.
The Falcons would have put up, not the Falcons. 49 points in an NFL game is still extremely impressive, regardless of the opponent. These are still professional athletes who got drafted and are getting paid millions of dollars to play solid
The
defense.
Giants suck.
The defense is
And
not
it's
the
hard.
problem.
It's hard to play good defense when your offense can't fucking get first downs because your starting quarterback is Tommy DeVito.
The defense isn't the problem. I just think
Tommy DeVito literally said he still lives at home and his mom still makes his bed. Like, and you think dude's gonna come out and ball on the Cowboys?
I just think the Cowboys deserve their flowers. They scored 49 points.
I don't.
And
Joe,
we shall move on.
what's your mid moment of the week, Joe?
Mid moment. Let's hear it.
Well, some people on this table might not like this. My mid moment of the week goes to Arthur Smith.
Damn it, you took mine. You fucking asshole. Fucking took my mid moment.
I mean, the dude just does not win football games. That should have been an easy win against the Cardinals.
In
I know-
Kyler's first start back.
I know Kyler came back, but you're coming off you lost to Mayonnaise Boy back in October 29th. Then the next week you lost to Josh Dobbs in his first ever meeting with his team.
Didn't even know the dude. He didn't even know the guys' names that he was throwing to.
And now you lost to the Cardinals, who many people thought were going to be the worst team in the league this year, and they're currently 2-5.
2-8.
They're 2-8, yeah, 2-8. So Arthur Smith, he's got to go, man. He's got to go.
Damn, how you gonna take my team as your mid moment of the week? That was literally my mid moment of the
I
week.
can't take mine. We won, man.
All right,
We're elite.
you're not elite, but
We're in the playoffs.
it's true. My mid moment of the week, we're going to the college football realm again. My mid moment of the week goes to a team that just won their Super Bowl, their version of a Super Bowl. They had their destiny was in their hands. All they had to do was win out against a couple pretty mediocre teams, and they would have been playing in the Big 12 championship game. They had been playing solid. They'd won, I think, 6 in a row. They were on a roll. Then they travel to Central Florida and lose 45-3. We're talking about the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They had
boys.
a top 10 Heisman contender who was held to 25 yards rushing, who had rushed for over 200 in 2 straight games. Their quarterback threw for 225 and 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. I don't know how you fumble the bag this bad. I think they must have been looking ahead or riding the high of their Super Bowl after beating Oklahoma, but they looked horrible. So the Oklahoma State Cowboys get my mid-moment of the week. This was one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
all right, I got mine. Go ahead, Lance, but I found a new one.
My mid moment of the week is going to none other than one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, Mac Attack Jones, against 15 of 20 for a 170 and 1 interception. And it is the 3rd time he's been benched this season to Bailey Zapp. And you don't even no touchdowns. You lose 10-6 to Minshew Mania in Germany. I mean,
German fans got robbed of a football game this
Of 2 football games.
You see how they were promoting the fucking game?
No.
Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they had them in the posters for the because they couldn't put anybody else from either team in the posters.
my
for it.
gosh.
God.
You lose 10-6 to the Colts, and you're now 2-8, and you have probably the worst offense in the NFL. You get my mid moment of the week.
All right, that leaves me with. I'm gonna piggyback on Joe real quick. The Falcons, that's ridiculous, man. I don't know how you do that. You combine for a total of less than 80 passing yards. Less than 80 passing yards. You had 2 quarterbacks playing that game. You put up, it might have been like 85 yards. I think it was like 85 yards. You put up less than 100 yards passing with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Jonnu Smith. That's just unacceptable against one of the worst teams in football. But Joe took that one. I got a better mid-moment. Penn State and James Franklin played an absolutely atrocious game against the Michigan Wolverines with no Jim Harbaugh. That was one of the most pathetic performances I have ever seen by a college football team on that field. J.J. McCarthy did not attempt a single pass in the second quarter, and they put up 23 points.
He threw 1 pass in the second half, but it was negated due to a pass interference call.
So no true passing attempts in the second half.
34 straight rush attempts.
And Penn State put up, 6 points?
15.
They did score a touchdown.
Yeah, it was 25-15.
You're right.
24-15.
You're right. It looked like it was going to be somewhat of a game when Drew Aller ran that ball in. They fell apart. First off, you see a team, no head coach, with 2 of the best backs in college football, and Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. You see that they are going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball down your throat. At a certain point, stack the box. Stack the box. They haven't thrown it. In 15 minutes, they didn't throw the fucking ball, and you can't stack the box. Not only that, you can't get anything going on offense. It was one of the most pathetic performances I have seen by a team all season. You still had something to play for. If you beat Michigan this week,
they were still 8-1.
If they beat Michigan and then Ohio State beat Michigan,
there was still playoff implications on the line. You still had a chance at playing in your conference championship. You were at home. At home.
In a whiteout game.
It was the stripe out.
Oh, stripe out.
In a big game, and you put together just a pathetic performance to improve James Franklin's record against top 5 teams to 1-10, I believe. So James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions earned my mid-moment of the week.
We need Sandusky back.
Oh, Lord.
good God, what a statement.
That was bad. That was bad.
James Franklin in his career, I believe, is 3-21 or 3-22 against top 10 teams.
Absolutely pathetic. All right, we're going to hop into just a quick recap of everything going on in sports, some of our favorite moments or least favorite moments from this past week, and why we think they're important to the sports world. We're going to start with Browns-Ravens.
It was a better game than I thought it was going to be.
Deshaun finally started to look like the Deshaun of old.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, it was his best game probably as a Brown so far. 250 passing yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, I believe. He did enough to get his team the win, is what I'm going to say. They put up 33 points. They're without Nick Chubb, for the rest of the year. Finally got some offense going. Defense played well. It was a good quarterback game, for both guys. 2 mobile quarterbacks. You put up, 31 and 33 respectively. Both defenses made plays when they needed to. And it really did show that the AFC North is just really good this year.
Damn right.
You got 3 teams in the playoffs right now. It looks like the Bengals are going to be out of that playoff picture this year. The way they're playing right now.
We have a favorable back half of the schedule.
You've still got to play the Ravens, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh all one more time.
And we got to play the
They
Chiefs.
Play Pittsburgh twice. We haven't played them yet.
Oh, you got to play Pittsburgh twice?
Yeah.
So that's at least 2 L's between those 4 divisional games.
I think you're talking about the
necessarily.
Steelers. I was like, there's no chance in hell.
Essentially, yeah. The way he's looking right now. But
You're going to lose to either the Browns or the Ravens, and you'll lose to the Steelers once.
And we got to play the Chiefs.
And you got to play the Chiefs. So it's going to be a tough
And the Vikings.
back stretch. The Ravens still look, I would say, I would still have the Ravens in my tier 2 of NFL teams right now. They got a good defense. Big loss that Jack mentioned earlier in Marvin Humphreys is now out for the season.
Yeah, tore his Achilles.
So that's gonna be a big loss for that defense. But they're still playing good ball. And I think with the defenses of that division, any of those teams could at least make it past the first round, depending on the matchup. So second one, and Joe touched on this with his mega moment, 49ers Jags. I mean, this is the absolute ass whooping in every sense of the word. Trevor Lawrence has regressed this year. He's playing really bad football. Calvin Ridley is playing pretty poorly. 2 catches for 20 yards, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, I need Trevor Lawrence to throw like 16 more touchdowns this year for my underdog. To hit.
Travis Etienne is really the only bright spot on that team right now. He's running the ball well. The defense is pretty bad. Just all around, not a good team.
There's a big statement win for San Francisco, though, coming out of that bye week.
Needed a big win, and they got it in a big way. Third thing we want to touch on, who is the number 1 team in college football after this week?
Georgia. It's
Georgia.
not close.
I'm a little biased, but I'm going to say after routing a top 10 team, and the way the SEC is shaking out this year, we have a better resume than Ohio State does.
No.
Ohio State beat Penn State, Notre Dame, and who else?
Those are the 2 big ones.
They beat Penn State and Notre Dame.
I don't know. It's kind of close. It just depends on what you value because we beat Ole Miss, we killed them. I don't think Ole Miss is as good as a team as their record or as their ranking stated. I think they were like the 19th best team in the country.
There's not a ton of good teams this year, though.
Well, their last 5 games were all decided by a possession or less. They won all of them, and they won 4 of them by 3 points. And they got bailed out of a couple of them. Like, they took Arkansas to overtime, I think.
But like if Ohio State and Georgia played right now, who do you think it would?
Georgia.
You think?
I don't think it's a question on who's better. I think it's like a question on the resume. Missouri is Georgia's best win. Missouri does look good. But I don't know. Ohio State, it's really close record-wise.
At this point in the season, I don't value the Notre Dame win.
No, it's not as valuable, but it was in South Bend.
It would probably carry, to me, it would carry the same weight as an Ole Miss win.
Yeah.
At this point, because Notre Dame has proven that they are literally the most up and down team in college football this year. They're either going to play top 5 ball or they're going to play, like a team that should not be inside the top 25. So
they're not ranked right now, are they?
They are not. They either play like an unranked team or they play like a top 5 team. And they played like an unranked team against, that Ohio State game was good.
Yeah, they played against.
That Ohio State game was good.
Well.
Then Penn State is just as mid can get.
No, I think Penn State's actually a really good football team. I think they just ran into buzzsaws in Michigan and Ohio State. They both held them. They both only lost by a combined 17
you
points.
Can only, in my opinion, you can only judge like as good as a team can be against their best opponents, and Penn State has not showed up in either game.
I disagree, actually. I actually think they played well against both teams.
I don't think they played well this past week.
I mean, they held a Heisman contending quarterback to 70 yards. The reason they had to run the ball, they had to run the ball so much.
He only had 70 yards because they didn't have to throw it.
No,
when you can go an entire half with only one passing attempt that is negated by pass interference, you got beat in every sense of the word.
They were running the ball so much in the second half, obviously because they found some success in it, but because they had no success throwing the ball because Penn State gave J.J. McCarthy an average of 1.5 seconds in the pocket. Their pass rush was absolutely insane in the first quarter, which is why Michigan turned to the run game. Michigan didn't have Jim Harbaugh there, so they had to rely on simplistic run plays for the entire second half, which makes sense, and it was successful. But it was only successful because Penn State succeeded in half of the game, which is the pass defense. That's why they had to run the ball so much. Same thing against Ohio State.
You put up 15 points, and you got beat by a 19-27 offense. I don't think
they're playing against the best defense in college football.
I don't think that's a good look.
Michigan's the best defense in college football, and I don't know.
You put up 15, and you got beat by a 1930 style offense. I don't think that was a good look for Michigan or for Penn State at all.
They didn't look incredible, but I think at the end of the year, if they were to look back and say, yeah, we lost by 9 to the number 3 team in the country and the best offense, I don't view that as like a horrible loss. I think it's, in the grand scheme of things, a 9-point loss. It's the same as the Missouri loss. The Missouri loss wasn't horrible against Georgia. They lost by 9 points. Like, you lost to one of the best teams in the country and one of the best defenses.
I'm just saying Penn State continues to prove over and over and over and over and over again that they cannot win against top 10 teams. So, in terms of the top 25, Penn State would be, like 15 to 18.
I think Penn State beats more teams in the top 25 than you would think. I think they lose to...
I just haven't seen it yet. And that's going to be my argument. James Franklin is 1-22 against top 10 teams. He's now like 1-10 against top 5 teams. They're not a top. They have not proven that they can be a top 10 team year in and year out. They have proven they can be a top 10 team until they face Ohio State, and then they can be like a top 12 to 15 team until they play Michigan. And then we're right back to square one talking about what are they going to do to actually be a true competitor next year. But the Dogs are number 1 in my opinion. The Clippers. Seems like James Harden is the new Kyrie Irving of the NBA.
He's not new. He's been doing this.
He shows up in L.A. L.A. has now lost 5 straight since the addition of Harden. They are winless. Just not a good look.
It's going to be the newest Brooklyn Nets.
It's just you just have 4 players that need the ball in their hands. The only player that's consistent in catch and shoot, surprisingly, is Russell Westbrook. He's the only player that has any catch and shoot ability. The other 3 need the ball in their hands to create space and create shots. James Harden needs the ball in his hand to be successful.
Yeah, James Harden cannot catch and shoot. I saw a clip
Of the corner 3?
The corner 3, he
stepped
was wide
into,
open.
He stepped into contest. He
pump
sidestepped
faked.
into contest.
Pump fake, defender jumped, and he leaned into the defender.
Airball.
And then threw up a shot.
That was one of those.
It's just
That
a
was
James
one of
Harden
those
shot.
That's a I'm trying to draw a foul type of shot, but I get what you're saying. Like you pass up the wide open look, looking for contact. That's one of my issues with the NBA as a whole now, as players constantly doing that. But yeah, I think PG has learned to play some off ball with Kawhi, but he's still used to being the number 2 primary ball handler, even when Kawhi is on the floor. Now you've got Kawhi, PG, Russ, and Harden, 3 of the 4 who have always been their team's primary ball handler. The only one who was not was Kawhi earlier in his career, like in San Antonio. But yeah, they are just.
Let James Harden come off the bench.
I don't know.
Let him.
I think it's an ego thing. I don't think
He'd be pissed off, but that's your best. If you want to win games, bring him off the bench. Let him handle the ball. Let him do what he does off the bench. He doesn't have to deal with fighting for the ball, fighting for possessions with the other 3 players. Let him come off the bench. Even if it's him and Westbrook coming off the bench, that's fine. Like, let them do what they do.
I think you're fine with Westbrook on the floor because early in the season they had proven that Westbrook, PG, and Kawhi.
It's not
could
as
get
much
done.
of Westbrook being a problem as it is. It would be like a team of Paul George and Kawhi is good on its own. They're a good team on their own. They're a good tandem. If you have 2 units with 2 superstars in each rotation, then
that's tough though because then they don't really have anybody else to run the point. Like
John Wall.
I would just have to see what you get out of John Wall.
You don't need John Wall to score. All you need is facilitate. You just need a facilitator on the floor. That's why they.
it's pretty much all James Harden did last season, anyways.
And he's not doing it right now. He wants his shots. They also have all their bigs are hurt. Zubac has been in and out. Mason Plumlee's out right now. So they're forced to play this small ball where their biggest player on the court's like 6'9", and it's not an efficient way to play basketball right now, and it's just not working. I think your best bet is to bring Harden off the bench if you want to be successful, not make him happy.
We shall see. Last thing we want to touch on real quick. The Minnesota Timberwolves have the best defense in the NBA right now. I don't know how long that stretch will continue. What I do know is that I think they're going to be a pretty competitive team down the stretch and into the playoffs this season.
It'll stretch into mid-June, early July.
Imagine how good they'd be if they had Jimmy Butler on that team.
And Pat Bev.
They've got 3. Anthony Edwards plays basketball harder than almost anybody in the league. The dude plays with a competitiveness and a fierceness to his game that elevates his game way above what his talent is. He's a very talented player, but the ferocity and the competitiveness and just like the want to win that he plays with is unlike that of many guys in the league, and that's why he has been so good. And then you've got Gobert, who was a 3-time DPOY, with Cat, who, when he's playing his best ball, is a really good two-way player.
You got Naz Reid coming off the bench.
If you can continue that, the Timberwolves are going to be a scary team down the stretch, I think.
Don't they still have Kyle Anderson, too?
Yes, slow-mo.
They do.
I hate that guy.
What's wrong with Kyle? What's wrong with Kyle Anderson? He's got an ugly-ass jump shot, but...
He's the one that got in the fight. Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the one that...
Yeah.
It was him and Gobert, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They
Called Gobert a bitch.
Yeah.
Any of y'all know who the second highest rated defensive player in the NBA is this year? I think. Last time I checked.
Is it a guard?
Nope.
Giannis?
Small forward.
Oh, small forward.
LeBron?
No.
Hell no.
That'd be cool, though.
Jimmy Butler?
Nope.
Small forward.
Tim Hardaway Jr.?
Is he like an actual good player? Or is he like someone
If you watch the NBA, you know that this guy is extremely impactful, up and coming, potential to win most improved, and extremely good on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, well, I don't watch a lot of NBA, so
East or West?
all that went right over my head.
West?
Last time I checked this like 5 days ago, and I think he was number 2, number 3, maybe.
I don't know. This isn't one of our trivia games, so just go ahead and tell me.
Jaden McDaniels.
Oh man, interesting.
Very interesting.
I don't know who that is. So.
I don't want to dwell.
Minnesota small forward.
I don't want to dwell on that too long. All right, we're gonna move into a new segment for the boys this week.
This one, I'm gonna start with contenders and pretenders.
Well, thank you for letting me announce it before you start with it. So we're gonna start with a new segment for the boys this week. It is going to be contenders versus pretenders. Lance is going to give us a few teams that the guys can debate on if they are true contenders or if they are pretenders. And Lance, what's the first team?
We've talked about a couple of them already. The first one is the Detroit Lions, 7-2, second seed in the NFC right now.
What qualifies somebody to be a contender?
Yeah.
Like
It's whatever
is
you.
it a
It's
team
whatever
that
you
could
deem.
make the Super Bowl, or a team that could win the Super Bowl, or a team that make it the NFC Championship? Like what?
We'll say conference championship, but it's really whatever you deem. Like
Okay, I'll
my
just go based on my own
contender,
definition.
my
They
contender
are-
will be different from your contender, or will be different from Joe's. It doesn't have to be like a unanimous vote.
Just one
here.
of like if you think they are one of the contending teams in like the NFC or the NFL for this
Contender.
example. Contender?
Pretender.
Pretender.
I don't think they're a great team, great regular season team, extremely unexperienced at the coaching in their coaching staff. Jared Goff has a lot of experience. Rookie running back Amon-Ra St. Brown has never seen any sort of valuable play in his life outside of this season. Josh Reynolds has never seen any sort of valuable play,
Hey, he's on the Rams.
They had that
but he didn't really play when he was on the Rams. At least
He's on my fantasy team.
the year they went to the Super Bowl.
I think so.
I think it came off. Anyway,
Maybe it was the year Cup went down. Did he play that year? Or was he not there?
I don't know, to be honest.
One year he played a good bit because he's on my fantasy squad.
I don't know. I in a playoff game, I'm taking the Niners, the Eagles, the Cowboys.
I would not. I would take the Niners and Eagles. I wouldn't take the Cowboys.
I'd take the Cowboys.
I'm going to say contenders in what has been kind of a down year for the NFC. You've got like one standout team in the Eagles. You do have the Niners if Purdy can stay consistent. I mean, that defensive line is just absolutely insane with Chase Young, Armstead, Nick Bosa, and Javon Hargrave. That's one of the best defensive lines that the National Football League has ever seen. So if Brock Purdy can stay consistent, the Eagles and the Niners are your top teams. Other than that, I think the field is wide open. And the Detroit Lions continue to impress me week in and week out. They won a shootout last night, which I did not think I picked the Chargers to win that game at home because I did not expect if it came down to a shootout for the Detroit Lions to be able to put up points like that. And they did. They can score both ways. They can score through the air with Laporta. Amon-Ra, Jared Goff has proven to be a really good NFL quarterback this year. And they can also score on the ground with David Montgomery. And when Jahmyr Gibbs gets his touches, he has made the most of them. They've got a solid offensive line. And while very young in most positions on the defensive side of the ball, their guys are showing up to play. And that is a team that rallies around their coach, really loves playing for Dan Campbell. So I think in a lot of matchups, they would match up well against most of the NFC this year, who has, most teams have just not impressed me. So, yeah, I'm going to say contenders.
Really quick. They've played 3 teams with a record above 500. I was just looking at this because I was curious. And their point differential is minus 37. They've played 3 teams, and they're 1-2 in those games.
So basically the Dolphins.
Kind of.
A little bit better.
The only team
They actually have a win against a team with a 500 or better record.
It's true, week 1 against the Chiefs. But they got blown out by the Ravens, and they lost to the Seahawks.
I mean, it was like half a Chiefs squad, though. They didn't have Chris Jones or Travis Kelce.
Yeah, so they won by 1 point. So I think their record, they played some really bad teams. They played like the Bears. They played the Raiders. They played.
Yeah, but you can't hold it against the Lions and then not hold it against other teams.
That's what a lot of people said about the Eagles last year, too. Because the Eagles went on a run, and everyone was like, well, look at their schedule. Their schedule is easy as fuck. And then it came around to the playoffs, and then everyone was like, oh.
Joe, what do you think? Contenders or pretenders?
I think they're in the same level as the Cowboys, and I would classify the Cowboys as pretenders because they can make it. The highest they can make it is the NFC Championship game. But the second they play the Eagles or the Niners, whether it be in the wild card, divisional round, or the NFC Championship, they're going to lose. They have zero chance to get past.
It also depends on what Niners squad you get.
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters either.
No, it's going to be tough now with that defensive line, dude. There's not going to be a quarterback in the NFL that has more than probably 2.5 seconds max to throw against that defensive line.
And with the NFL season we've got, I would not say there's no chance in any matchup. I would say they have a chance in every matchup. It might not be a great one, but
All right, I guess everyone's got a fighter's chance.
Who's your next team?
Next team we just talked about a few minutes ago, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I'm going to say, if we're talking like NBA championship contenders, I'm going to say pretenders. There's just too many talented squads out there this year. And currently the Timberwolves calling card is that they have the number one defense in the NBA. I don't think they'll finish that way.
Why?
I just think they're all playing really, really good basketball right now. I think Gobert takes a little bit of a down tip as the season continues. Cat has always struggled in the playoffs, coming up with those big moments, and Ant is still young. And I just think there's some teams out there that are a lot more talented than the Minnesota Timberwolves, some of which we still haven't seen get on the floor altogether and really show up, like the Suns. I think the Clippers could still be a good basketball team if they figure out what to do with Harden. The Nuggets are still a good basketball team. The Pelicans are looking like a decent basketball team, and then you've still got the East. So I don't think they're true contenders. I think they're pretenders.
I actually think they're contenders. My definition of contenders is the ability to make a conference championship and potentially win it. Like, they're in a position to win the conference championship. I personally don't see any reason why the defense can't continue to hold true. Ant is developing into a really, really solid defender. Like I said earlier, Jaden McDaniels is a very solid wing defender who will take on your best player and will succeed 90% of the time. Obviously, it's the NBA. So.
That to me right there is a stretch already. I mean, the kid is a rookie.
No, he's not. He's been there for 3 years.
He's a young kid. And I don't think 90% of the time, especially against some of the top talent in the West,
He did it to Jason Tatum.
Yeah, but you know how I feel about Jason Tatum. You're not saying much to me. In the Western Conference playoffs, I don't see a guy like Jaden McDaniels locking up KD or Bradley Beal or Devin Booker or LeBron James or Jamal Murray, or I don't see him locking up those guys 90% of the time. I think that's a very large reach.
I 100% believe that he has the ability to play incredible defense against 90% of NBA players. And we still have Rudy Gobert, who is not as much of an offensive threat as most big men, but that's why we have Cat, who is an offensive threat on all facets of the ball. He's a facilitator. He's the best. He is top 2 shooting big men of all time.
Of all time?
Name one. Name one other one that's in contention. He shoots 38% from 3 for a big man. He shoots a mid-range jump shot for a big man like no one else has ever seen.
He's currently, if you're going to put him 2, he's at least right now behind Jokic.
Oh my God, that is not accurate at all. He is not a consistent jump shooter at all. That is not true in the slightest.
I'm going to let you continue to ramble on because I know it's your hometown team. So I'll let you continue to spew some BS.
What about Wemby?
Wemby might make it. He might make it a competition. But I said top 2 for a reason.
Of all time is insane.
Name one other one. One other one.
First off, he's not even a big. He's a power forward.
He's big.
He's 6'11".
All right, KD shoots better.
KD's not.
What? KD's not a power forward. KD's 6'11". KD's not a big man. KD's not a big man.
He's a small forward.
He's 6'11".
He's a small forward.
Okay, bro. All right, Joe. What do you got?
Well, if I'm classifying it as can make a conference championship like Zach does, or like Jack did, I would say contenders because I think they can get there, but I don't think they could. I think it's going to be basically the Nuggets and everyone else in the West. The Nuggets are going to have – I think the Nuggets are going to 100% be in the Western Conference Finals this year. But everybody else, I think, is kind of a mix because you got the Lakers at the second half of the season are probably going to make some GM moves and get back on track. The Warriors are probably going to lose to a team that's big. Like, if they played the Timberwolves, they probably lose because they just get bodied like the Lakers did to them. And they could definitely make it there. But I don't know how long they're going to last because I feel like Anthony Edwards is a different type of player than – I'm not a big fan of Cat. I'm sorry. But he's too zesty for me. He
does have a zest factor.
He doesn't seem like he wants it. And I feel like Anthony Edwards is the only one on that team that has like
that ferocity, that
passion.
Kobe mentality to win.
I'm just looking at based on because the only ones I know are Cat and Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert has a defensive mindset. I won't say he has an offensive mindset, but on the defensive side
when
of the ball.
when his player calls him out, he started crying because the guy called him a bitch. I get called a bitch all the time. I don't cry.
That's fair. I think they figured out their chemistry for the most part, though. That was a low moment, though. That pissed me off.
That's fair.
But I think they figured out their chemistry.
I just haven't seen them. I have not seen the Timberwolves produce. Even on some of their better years, they always find a way to choke it away or hand it away. And I definitely think they're like, if you get matched up with the Nuggets in the first round, it's a walking L.
We wouldn't match.
I think that's any team in the West, though.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I don't see us getting matched up with the Nuggets because I think the Nuggets are going to be a 1 seed, and I think we'll be higher than a 7.
It's also very early in the NBA season to be calling out, who is really going to be good when we haven't even seen
What's this segment called?
some of the best
Isn't that
players
exactly what we're doing in the segment?
all on the floor. I mean, I guess, but if we're talking about like college football contenders or pretenders or the NFL, you're already 10, 11 games into the season. We're 10 games into an 82-game season in the NBA. So, say a large difference when they've only played like 12% of their games for the season.
All right, Joe, you might not be able to give too much insight on this one. And I put this, football. I did this one because some people think they should be in, some people think they should be out.
Texas?
Florida State.
Oh.
Pretender.
I'm going to say pretender.
And
I'm after the Dawgs, my next favorite team to cheer for is Florida State. I don't know. Like, their most impressive win of the season was probably LSU in week 1. And LSU has proven that they've got a bottom 20 defense in all of college football. I mean, you gave up 35 to Graham Mertz. So no part of your defense is any good. It sucks.
We had 4 sacks, though. Your
defense sucks. Your defense is absolutely atrocious. And it's gotten a little bit better as the season has progressed, but it's still an atrocity. It's really sad, actually, to watch your defense compared to your offense. It's one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? They are so far on opposite ends of the spectrum, it's actually annoying to watch for you to score 52 and week in and week out, give up 40+.
I'd rather be that than the opposite. Like Pittsburgh.
Like Iowa.
Like watching your team, your defense has to score a touchdown for you to win, and you win like 10-7.
Yeah, obviously offense is more fun to watch, but it's very hard to watch a team with a Heisman candidate, a top 3 Heisman candidate, go out and put up 51 and lose to Ole Miss, who puts up 52. So, with that being Florida State's most impressive win, Jordan Travis hasn't. He looked like a Heisman candidate. Early in the season. He has slowly worked his way down that board of Heisman candidates. And Mike Norvell is still a new coach, to Florida State. So
he doesn't really have much
pedigree under his
playoff experience.
Under his
belt.
So I'm going to say pretender. I think they're getting beat by all 3 teams inside the top 4 right now.
I think they're getting beat by Washington and Oregon too. I think
Oregon for sure. I
think they're getting beat by Penn State.
No shot. That would be a fun game. Like, that is where the 12-team playoff to me would be fun, because that would be a fun game to watch.
I think they lose to Bama too. Yeah, they lose to a lot of teams. I think they're a pretender for sure.
I don't know about Washington, just because Washington just gave up How many points did they give up to Colorado?
They just played Utah.
Like Utah.
Yeah, they gave up 28 to Utah, who's had a very bad offense this year. So
Yeah.
but there is a good amount of teams in the top 10 that you put Florida State up against. They're going to have a very, very, very rough time.
Have they played Louisville yet?
No.
No.
It's kind of.
It's looking like that's what the
ACC
ACC championship's going to be.
I think they could lose that.
I think they could, but I don't think. I think Louisville's a little.
Hey, they beat Notre Dame, man.
So they
So,
lost to Pitt the next week.
yeah,
Who's
that one,
2-8.
that one's going to be interesting, though. Like, the top 4 is going to be real interesting. There's still a lot of movement that could be made inside that top 4.
Conference championship week will be huge.
But I do think Florida State is a pretender.
All right, for this segment, I have one team left, and it is none other than the Cincinnati Bengals.
Contender. I think the games they lost on a game-winning field goal to the Texans. Great win by the Texans, but I don't think you can hold that against the Bengals and say, like, this is why they're a pretender. They played a good game. They've been playing well for the last couple of weeks. They started off slow when Joe Burrow couldn't walk, pretty much. Couldn't move in the pocket.
They lost the first 3 games of the
3
season.
to start. They're 5-1 since then. I see no reason why one loss is the reason they're a pretender. I think they can contend. I think they will contend. It's going to be hard to beat the Chiefs, obviously. And then I think the AFC North is just going to kind of kill each other throughout the year. They're going to Pac-12 it. But I think they're contenders. I think they can make a conference championship, and I think they have a chance in a conference championship.
This one's tough for me because I have been on their side all season. I've watched Joe Burrow the last 2 years start off unreasonably slow and then start off 0-3 in both seasons. This year they took it, 0-3, and it was looking real, real bleak. They are now 5-4, I believe. It's going to be tough to even make a playoff spot from where they are currently at right now. They are last in the AFC North. It's going to be hard to make that climb just because I see the Ravens kind of maintaining their top spot up there. The Steelers will find a way to win 9 or 10 games this season, and we might start seeing the Deshaun Watson of old. I think if they can make a playoff spot, they will be contenders.
I hope we don't see the Deshaun Watson of old. Why is Bertram?
Dude, I saw that too. I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope we don't see the Deshaun Watson of old.
I think if they can make a playoff, I think if they can make the playoffs, they will be contenders. But I'm a little worried about where they're sitting right now in terms of AFC standings, because there are a lot of 5-4, 5-5 teams out there right now, and the Bengals' conference record is 2-2, I believe, or 1-3.
I also don't think the Texans can keep up. Like I think they'll win 8 or 9 games, but I don't think they'll have a better record than the Bengals at the end of the year.
The Bengals still have a few tough games to play, though. So I'm going to say they are contenders as long as they can figure out a way to win a few games that maybe they shouldn't in the regular season through the rest of the way, and they make a playoff spot. If they make the playoffs, they'll be contenders. But they got to get there first, and I'm a little worried about where they're sitting currently.
They could really screw over a 2 seed if they get the 7 seed. And
that's what I'm saying. If they
could
make the
really
playoffs,
screw someone over.
if they make the playoffs, I like them. I am just a little worried about where they currently sit in AFC standings.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I think the Bengals could be the first wild card to make the Super Bowl since
The Giants, both times.
Were they both times?
Both times they were
times,
wild
yeah.
card teams.
I think they're definitely contenders. And, I mean, I know that they're behind in the AFC North, but they got like 4 more games against AFC North opponents, I think, and they're just going to climb the rankings because
I'm not even so much worried about them because I don't think they have the Ravens are sitting at 7-3?
Yeah.
I think they have a very slim chance to win the North.
Yeah, I think
Because of that,
they're only
I'm
1.5 games back.
a little worried about
just
them
making the playoffs.
them making the wild card.
But
Especially,
the wild card teams, 2 of them are AFC North teams.
yeah, but I think
Steelers, Browns, Texans. If you
the
knock out
the Steelers will find with Mike Tomlin. You'll find a way to stay in there. You're 6-3 right now,
We did last year.
You should not have 6 wins currently.
Exactly.
But we've had a winning record the past 2 or 3 years and haven't made it to the playoffs.
I think I think one of those two teams will remain a wild card team.
I don't know how the hell y'all keep scratching out wins. I was just thinking about it. Like, y'all, I didn't even watch the Packers game, but I know that was abysmal to watch.
I didn't watch it. I got mad.
They're ugly games. Like, they're very ugly
I don't
games.
know how y'all keep winning games.
But that's all I'm
hot
saying.
for MVP.
I think the Bengals will be a contender as long as they make the playoffs.
I think they still have a chance to win the division.
They got to start showing up though.
The Ravens have the Bengals next week, then the Chargers. They still got the Jaguars, the Niners, the Dolphins, and they got to play the Steelers again.
Yeah. They play the Dolphins on New Year's Eve. That's pretty cool.
That's a hard schedule for the Ravens.
Yeah, but they play the Bengals at home.
Yeah.
The Chargers are.
The Chargers are so volatile. They could beat. I feel like the Chargers could beat any team in the NFL.
And also lose to just about any
And
team.
yeah, they could
That's-
go.
so the
they could go
Chargers-
into Chicago and lose. Or
The
they could go-
Chargers is so 50-50. And then who do you got after the Chargers?
Bye, and then they
Rams.
play the Rams.
That's a win.
Then they got Jacksonville in
at
Jacksonville.
Jags
That's a win.
at Niners.
They're going to lose to the Niners.
Dolphins.
Home against the Dolphins,
I think they'll beat the Dolphins.
and then home versus Steelers.
Joe, did you win or lose the first matchup this season?
They
One.
won.
So you'll lose that one.
So you think the Ravens are going to go like 12-5, 13-4?
I think at worst, they win 11 games. At worst. That means the Bengals got to win 6 of their last 8. They got to win 6 of the. That's going to be tough. I don't see that happening. Not when the Texans were able to scrape out a win against the
It's not a
Bengals.
fun schedule either.
So like I said, I'm gonna stick with mine. I think they are contenders as long as they make the playoffs. But they did not set themselves up well for the second half of the season to make the playoffs.
No, they did not.
All right, we will move on from that. We've got one more news. Well, we've got 2 more news segments, but we're gonna kind of just jump through this one real quick. All right, overreaction, not an overreaction. What do you got for us?
Now, this does not mean I agree with these takes. These are just takes for y'all to put your opinion on. I did not. These are not my ideas. Clippers missed the playoffs.
Overreaction.
I'm gonna say overreaction.
Are we qualifying the top
Just make the
6?
playoffs.
Top
No,
6?
Play-in
Oh,
counts.
okay.
Like you have to
Like
be one
1
of the,
through
you have to be
8.
one of the 8 teams in a playoff series.
I think they can still do that.
Yeah, overreaction.
Yeah, I'm
They
gonna
just
say
haven't
over.
gelled yet.
I'm gonna say overreaction. They still got too much talent on that team to be that bad.
Yeah.
Next one, the Mavericks finish as a top 3 seed in the West.
Not an overreaction. Very possible.
Not an overreaction. Not with the way Luka's playing and the fact that him and Kyrie have found a way to gel.
Y'all are gonna love this one. Best quarterback in the NFC is Dak Prescott right now.
Shut the hell up.
Overreaction. Overreaction.
Hurts. It's gotta be
Overreaction.
Hurts. Does Josh Dobbs count?
Yeah.
Give me Dobbs. No. Hurts is better. Than
Hurts is miles better.
Alabama is a national championship contender in
Not an
college football.
overreaction at all. Not an overreaction. That defense is
Not with the
so
defense. And not with Saban. I'm going to say not an overreaction. You've got Saban and you've still got, true to form Alabama defense.
Tommy Reese has finally found a way to instill confidence in Jalen Milroe, which is a very dangerous thing for an Alabama team.
Really, yeah, it did not help that you guys let him run for 4 touchdowns against y'all. So you did the whole country a disservice. Thank you.
Well, Mississippi State or whoever he played last week gave up 6. So at least we didn't do that.
I mean, I think Alabama's going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship.
All right,
Really?
Joe, shut up. Shut up, Joe.
So Joe does not think it is an overreaction. Last one, the 49ers are again the favorites in the NFC.
Overreaction.
Are
we talking about just right after this game this past weekend? Like that's
They are now the current favorites in the NFC.
they're not the
overreaction.
favorite. The Eagles are still the favorite. The Eagles are going to be the favorite for the rest of the season. I don't think there's anything the Eagles are going to do. Maybe if they get blown out by the Cowboys next time they play them, and then the Vegas meat riders will jump on Dallas.
because the Eagles have a very
Winnable schedule.
well, not even just that. The Eagles' defense, not as good as the 49ers, but it's up
comparable.
there. It's comparable. Their offense, in my opinion, is much better.
In the 49ers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's. I don't think
You got a
it's
mobile
much-
quarterback.
Well, I wouldn't say it's much better.
You got a mobile quarterback,
I think their passing game is much better. Their running game.
and you've got a top 3 wide receiver by the stats right now in AJ Brown.
Honestly, I think they have the 2 best offensive lines in the country, 1 and 2.
Well, the Eagles were using Swift real well at the beginning of the season, and they just stopped using him.
He's still got over 600 yards this season.
Yeah, but like in the game against the Bucks, he had like over. I think
He had
had
172 yards.
He had
Yeah,
like
but that was-
25 carries in that game.
They were in Tampa. It was raining. That was kind of a sloppy game all
They should
around.
get back to using him so they have a more balanced attack, but right now it ain't broke, so don't fix it.
Nope,
I
they're
still
8-1.
I still think the Eagles are the favorite.
Faux show.
All right,
What's their loss? I forget.
the
the
Eagles.
Jets.
Yeah, the
That
Jets.
horrible game.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, last news segment of the week. We're going to start finishing off every pod like this, and I think it'll be enjoyable for you guys. If you like spreads, if you like over-unders, if you're betting on money lines, you might want to take a look at some of these games. These are the FTS upsets of the week. I will start because I think mine is the least popular.
You said we have the same one.
I have 3.
You have 3.
I think mine is the least popular. Mine for the week, take it or leave it, is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders at the Miami Dolphins. The Raiders are now 5-5, so they are a 500 team, which is when the Dolphins look at that, they kind of shit themselves. They're like, oh my God, a team that actually, has as many wins as they do losses or more. The Raiders are not a fun team to watch. It's not a pretty team to watch. They are not going to beat you down the field constantly with Aiden O'Connell and put up, 30 points. However, that's a very scrappy defense with a DPOY candidate in Max Crosby, who's playing some really good football. The running game, Josh Jacobs has found new life. Finally had 100 yards last night against the Jets, which we all know is a very good defense.
Josh Jacobs is better when Jimmy G's not the quarterback.
Aiden O'Connell has played well enough.
Jimmy G's not the quarterback.
Huh?
Everyone's better when Jimmy G's not the quarterback.
Aiden O'Connell has played well enough in his 2 starts in these last 2 games to get the Raiders wins. I think the Raiders have an opportunity to continue their hot streak. They can still make the playoffs where they're sitting at right now, to go into Miami, get into his face, disrupt the passing game, and do just enough against them, not a bad but not a good. It's a pretty mid-level NFL defense in Miami, and shock the Dolphins at home. That would be my upset of the week.
That one's wild. Mine is not as egregious as that one. I'm going down to college football for my upset of the week. I'm taking Miami at home to beat 9-1 Louisville. I don't
like that one.
Miami is 6-4. Louisville's 9-1, but I just don't really trust Jack Plummer. He's not great. Tyler Van Dyke is he would be better on a better team, but he's on Miami, so he only has so much to work with, and it is a home game for Miami. Louisville has not played great as of late. I think they just snuck out a win on Saturday. So I'm going to take Miami to play spoiler for the ACC championship and beat the Louisville Cardinals.
I wrote down 3, all in college football, just because that's where I'm at. Yeah, I'm not taking any yours, don't worry. Louisville, Miami was one of mine. I think Louisville has a legitimate chance to win.
Out of the next two,
Miami has a legitimate chance to win.
out of your next 2, pick your favorite. You only get 1 for the week.
Good question. My favorite is Arizona State to cover the spread against Oregon. I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be closer. They're 3-7. Arizona State is, so it doesn't look pretty. But Arizona State has always given Oregon trouble. Or Arizona State dashed Oregon's playoff hopes 2 years ago.
That was with Jaden Daniels.
Yep. And I think that they have a legitimate chance to keep it close. Obviously, it's a sprinkle upset. If they get blown out, whatever happens, happens. It's Oregon. It's a top 4 team in the country, in my opinion. But if it's going to happen, I think it's going to be against this team. I think this is where they stumble if they do. So I'll take Arizona State to keep it close with Oregon.
Okay, so for this segment, is there a limit on how small the spread thing is?
No.
No, you can
Okay,
pick.
because my team is an underdog.
Because the spread on that game's 1.
Okay, well, mine's 1.5. So I feel better than that.
You're good.
This team, they've gone through some trouble this year, but they're on the come up. One of their superstars, the mega superstars of the league, is ramping up to come off of the injured reserve this Sunday night when the Vikings take on the Denver Broncos as an underdog in Denver.
I don't know why the fuck we're an underdog.
The Broncos are favored.
Broncos are favored by 1.5.
Josh Dobbs is going in there and wrecking
That's
shit.
the
You found the bet. You found the best one of the week.
I mean, I don't think that they are. The news, I guess, just came out that I guess Jefferson's might be coming back this week. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
he
why.
answered his 21 days like 6 days ago.
So Josh Dobbs is gonna outplay Russell Wilson. He's gonna destroy that Broncos defense, which isn't too good to begin with. I'm not sure why it's a Sunday night game, but yeah,
Because everybody wants to see the Pastronaut live.
That was
I guess.
a fantastic pull, Joe. Very good. I'm gonna give that one a little golf clap.
I think they win without Jefferson, even if he doesn't come back.
Yeah, I still think they win. All right. A little bit of a new format today for the boys in the pod. We're going to try to keep most of these segments going. I like them. The boys like them, and it's a good way to kind of keep the pod moving. If you made it this far, we appreciate you listening to our sick asses. If you couldn't tell, me, Lance, and then Jack, not so much sick, but we were at the Georgia game on Saturday night, and we were screaming. So me and Lance very nasally, Jack missing a little bit of his voice. So if you listen to us this far, we really appreciate you guys. We're out every Thursday morning, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all that good jazz. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week. Peace.